Welcome aboard, friends. Now, I am not a racing sailor. I enjoyed that sport a little bit when I was younger, but I found as I got more interested in cruising and offshore sailing that the criteria of comfort was more in line with good seamanship decisions. And not that I don't appreciate the sport of yacht racing. I think a lot of great contributions have come from it, but I just found that my own personal taste is now more oriented toward the slow lane. Anyway, that's not to say that when two boats find themselves on the water going in the same direction, particularly if they know each other, there isn't necessarily going to be a spontaneous bit of competition that erupts. And so it is that I find myself here today with my buddy Kevin Boothby on Ruth Avery. If you don't know his channel, you should. It's How to Sail Oceans here on YouTube and on Rumble. I've known Kevin for a long time, since well before there were any electrons moving around on his boat. He's a hell of a sailor, and I always enjoy having him around for a visit. Anyway, today we find that both Ruth Avery and Charis are intended on going down to Hadley's Harbor from Padenham. And so naturally there's a bit of a good-natured competition going on here between the two. And so without further ado, in this corner we have Ruth Avery. Now Ruth Avery is Kevin refers to her as a Gilmer 31. She's basically a Southern Cross 31 hull with a completely unique gaff rig. But her hull is the same. She's of the pedigree of essentially the Cole and Archer lineage, double enders, fantastic sea boats, long full keel, attached rudder. In this case, a stern post hung rudder. Not much cutaway on the forefoot, as you can see. She's fairly full, but with some rake to the keel. Anyway, fantastic sea boat, and certainly compatible with Charis, weighing in allegedly at 13,600 pounds. We'll give them a few more pounds for the solid spruce spars, but she has a waterline length of 25 feet, which is ostensibly a little bit longer than Charis. She has 4,400 pounds of ballast down in her keel, and maximum draft allegedly of 4.6 feet. Now, the thing about Ruth Avery that's completely unique is her gaff rig. And the gaff rig is an interesting thing. It's a completely different way of harnessing the wind, in the sense that the center of effort of that mainsail is up quite a bit higher. But it also requires a certain amount of nuance in terms of handling, because as you can imagine, with the center of effort that high and that far aft, it takes some real seamanship to steer one of these boats well, and it's quite a feat to make her do exactly what you want in close quarters. So if you want to see some more of that, definitely check out Kevin's channel. Anyway, one thing that you'll see throughout this particular series of video footage clips is that these gaff rigs are phenomenal at reaching, and particularly reaching in light air. They really get sail area up there where the wind is stronger, up high off the water. And of course, Charis, with a lower aspect rig, has her sail area carried a bit lower, and you'll see that throughout here, where Ruth Avery just really comes into her own in the lighter stuff. And in this corner, my own beloved Allberg 35 Charis, weighing in at 12,600 pounds. Yeah, right. Well, you know, she's going on 60 years old, and you know how it is. Anyway, I'm pretty sure we've left that in the dust with most of my gadgets and gizmos, but we do have 5,300 pounds of lead ballast down in the keel, And again, ostensibly a 24-foot water line, though you could probably add a few inches to that because she sits a little deeper in the water. Charis is similar in hull lines to Ruth Avery until you get aft. And it's her long overhang aft and longer overhang forward with somewhat of a cutaway to the forefoot of her full keel that make her sail quite a bit differently in certain conditions. So these hulls were great for reaching, of course, any long keel boat is. But the one thing about Charis is that if you put her over to about 10 or 15 degrees, the waterline lengthens considerably, and those overhangs at both ends sort of just become part of that waterline and give her tremendous riding energy as well as the longer waterline. So a little bit of heel, and man, she just really wants to go. But that said, you get lighter winds and you got her sitting on that shorter waterline. Well, not really a light air, high performance formula. So as we head out of Padenham Harbor here, off toward Hadley's, I notice Ruth Avery is reaching up quite a bit to the westward, and I start to wonder if he's changed his mind, decided to go to Cuttyhunk instead. And then I remember these crafty Mainers, and what Kevin's really doing here is he's taking advantage of these lighter winds and his boat's reaching capability because right now we're on a northwest wind, but we know that it's going to peter out and eventually come around to the southwest, and this is going to put him in a much better position relative to the incoming wind, both as to when it arrives and how he can use it. Crafty little bugger. And sure enough, as you can see, I'm still on a northwest ghosting wind, dead downwind, wing on wing. Kevin's a little further to west here, and he's now picked up that southwest and just picked up his heels, and off goes Ruth Avery. And then as we get out here in the middle of the bay, that southwest fills in earnest, and now we're really going well together. This is where the two boats do quite well together. Charis is probably heeled over about 10 degrees. She's digging in her stern counter and bow, and she's got all the wind she wants to move along at pretty good speed, but Ruth Avery's doing quite well also. On the other side of the equation, the probably the biggest liability of a double ender is her ability to go directly to windward, and that's not necessarily a fault of the gaff rig, although the gaff does tend to fall off to leeward a bit and reduce your tacking angle. The big thing about a double ender is that when she lays over on her side with essentially no reserve buoyancy and a transom overhang or a square transom, she has more of a tendency to pitch, and that pitching motion is going to require you to fall off a bit in order to keep your sails full. But as will happen, as we get up closer to Noshawn Island and Weepacket Rock, the southwest kind of gets shadowed a bit there sometimes. Anyway, our southwest has sort of died away here, and Ruth Avery is going to use her higher center of effort on her mainsail to just pull away and stay ahead. And so as we close the distance coming up on Timmy Point, Ruth Avery has a healthy lead and holds it. And well, the wager on this one was a cold Sam Adams Oktoberfest, and truth be told, I was going to share that anyway. But Ruth Avery does quite well, and I will say that only a fool bet against a gaffer on a reaching race, and only a damn fool in light winds. So hats off, and Ruth Avery takes this one. And in way of full disclosure, no sour grapes here, but to underscore some of the prior discussion about the low aspect Bermudian rig on Charis versus the gaff rig on Ruth Avery. Um, I don't have any footage of it because my hands were full, but in the little tacking duel between Timmy Point and Hadley's Harbor, Charis did manage to squeak out just inches ahead, getting into the entrance of Hadley's. Um, Basically, she's got a slightly higher tack angle, as would be expected for a Bermudian rig. But all in all, a fantastic day on the water, great sail and great fun, even for a non-racer. So thanks for coming along. I hope you enjoyed this week's show, and we'll see you next week.